Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab.
Hi there.
Today we're diving into some advanced C1 level English vocabulary, specifically words that start with the letter G.
Right. Some really useful ones in this list.
Yeah, think of this as your personal exploration into how these words work, their sort of subtle differences, and how you can maybe weave them more effectively into your English.
Good plan.
Let's kick off with gambling. So, at its core, this is wagering money on games of chance, where the outcome isn't certain.
Inherently risky.
Exactly. It inherently involves risk, and while for some it's, recreational, it can unfortunately develop into a serious addiction.
And that's where you often see the legal sidestep in the restrictions.
Yeah, absolutely. You see it in the buzz of casinos and now everywhere with online platforms. But it's vital to remember the potential for, significant financial and emotional hardship.
True. And in different places, certain kinds of gambling face really strict legal prohibitions.
What's really interesting about gambling, though, is that psychological pull it can have.
Oh, definitely. It's not just about the money, is it? It's tied to the thrill, that anticipation of winning.
That uncertainty aspect.
Right. This whole complex relationship with risk and reward. Well, societies have grappled with it for centuries. It explains the diverse legal approaches we see around the world.
That makes sense. How different cultures view acceptable risk in leisure activities varies a lot.
It really does.
Okay, that's a great point. Next up, gathering. This word signifies people coming together for a shared purpose, could be social, could be more official.
Like a meeting or a party.
Exactly. They can range from informal get-togethers like a family celebration to really structured events like, say, an academic conference.
We all take part in them. Family reunions, big meetings of scholars.
For sure. And recent global events certainly highlighted how public gatherings can be restricted, for health concerns.
A very relevant point lately.
I always find social gatherings are a great way to connect with new people, personally.
Yeah, the act of gathering is really fundamental to society. It's a platform for exchanging ideas, building social bonds, celebrating things together.
Yeah. Shared values or important moments.
Yes. And while the reasons and formats might change, with technology and society, that basic human need for community, for interaction, that stays strong.
It's a constant. Think about how key gatherings have been all through history.
Definitely. For decision-making in ancient times, for developing new ideas in, intellectual circles.
Right. Okay, now let's consider gaze. This is more than just a quick look. It involves looking steadily, intently at something, often with feelings like admiration or wonder.
So a focused look.
Yeah. Imagine gazing at a starlit sky, totally lost in thought, or someone's fixed gaze on a painting, really appreciating the details.
Or, that long gaze between lovers.
Good example. Or tourists just gazing at a breathtaking view, maybe. It's that deep, focused look that often shows a deeper emotion or intense curiosity.
And that intensity is what really sets gaze apart from just, glancing or looking. It suggests a deeper engagement.
An emotional investment.
Exactly. The length and the context of a gaze can tell you so much about the observer's feelings or intentions or their connection with whatever they're looking at.
Like affection versus scrutiny, depending on the situation.
Precisely.
Okay, moving on to gear. Now, as a noun, this is about equipment for a specific activity. Think hiking gear, boots, backpack, that sort of thing.
The tools you need.
Right. But gear can also be a verb, meaning to adjust or prepare for a situation, like shifting gears when you drive.
Or adapting something for a purpose, like a curriculum geared towards certain students.
Yes, exactly. Or you might hear someone say they're gearing up for winter, getting ready. So it covers both the tools and the act of preparation.
It's interesting how gear connects the actual equipment and the preparatory action. It speaks to how we equip ourselves, both materially with tools and strategically, sort of adjusting for what's coming.
That adaptability, yeah. Physical resources and mental readiness.
Like an athlete picking their gear, but also mentally gearing up before a match.
Good analogy. Okay, now generic. This describes something that isn't specific, something typical of a whole group.
Lacking distinctiveness.
Right. It doesn't have unique features. You see it in shopping. Generic brands are usually cheaper because they're not tied to a big name.
Though often just as effective.
Sometimes, yes. Or you might get a generic response to a question that doesn't really answer your specific point.
Or a presentation that feels too broad, too generic for the audience.
Yeah. And using generic terms, especially in specialized fields, can sometimes cause misunderstandings.
True. Generic highlights that trade-off, doesn't it? Between being widely applicable and being individually distinct. Generic options can be practical, cost-effective, sure. But sometimes that lack of specific features means less clarity or impact or relevance.
Especially when differentiation is important, like in communication or branding.
Right. A generic solution might miss the important details of a specific problem.
Okay, this next word carries significant weight. Genocide.
Yes, a very serious term.
It's the deliberate, systematic destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or cultural group. It's recognized as an extremely serious crime under international law.
Often linked with war crimes.
Yes. You see documentaries covering historical instances of genocide. It's an act that leaves just profound, lasting psychological scars.
On survivors, on whole communities. It's horrific.
And international tribunals have prosecuted individuals for this crime. It just underscores how important it is to learn about past genocides to try and prevent future ones.
Absolutely. The term genocide is a chilling reminder of, well, humanity's capacity for extreme violence. It highlights why we need strong international laws and ongoing education.
To protect vulnerable groups.
Yes, and the premeditated, organized nature is what makes it such an exceptionally heinous crime against humanity.
Understanding the patterns, the warning signs.
Can hopefully inform efforts to promote tolerance and prevent future tragedies.
Right. Okay, shifting gears a bit to a somewhat lighter topic. Gig.
Ah, gig. Changed a bit, hasn't it?
It has. Traditionally, it meant a performance by musicians, playing a gig at a local club.
Live music.
But its meaning has broadened, especially with the freelance economy growing. Now, it can also mean a short-term job, a temporary project.
Gig economy.
Exactly. You hear about someone landing a freelance writing gig, or how many people now rely on gig work through online platforms.
And that first stand-up comedy gig could be terrifying.
Terrifying, but maybe rewarding if it goes well.
The evolving meaning of gig is quite a fascinating snapshot, actually. It shows how language adapts to changes in economic structures and how people work. Its definition expanding shows how common, flexible, short-term work has become. Our vocabulary just absorbs these shifts.
Like how the gig economy has changed ideas about careers.
And the words we use to talk about them.
Okay, now let's look at glance. This is when you take a brief, hurried look at something.
Quick and fleeting.
Yes. Like glancing at your watch for the time, or just giving someone a quick glance before you walk away.
Or a problem might look simple at a glance.
Right. But then turns out to be complex. Or even just one glance at the weather forecast can totally change your plans for the day.
The efficiency of a glance is useful, lets us process things quickly. But it also implies, a lack of deep engagement.
Not a thorough look.
No. What we can pick up with just a glance versus what needs more focus. That's an interesting aspect of perception, how we prioritize information.
Like scanning headlines, a quick glance tells you if you want to read more.
Exactly.
Similar to glance, we have glimpse. This means a brief or partial view of something.
A momentary sighting.
Right. Often catching sight of something just for a second. You might catch a glimpse of a famous actor ducking into a car.
Or glimpse the sun for a moment through thick clouds.
Yeah. And movie trailers, they're designed to give you just a glimpse of the film, right? To tease you.
Make you curious.
And sometimes maybe a diary or old letters might offer a rare glimpse into someone's private thoughts.
That fleeting, incomplete nature of a glimpse often creates intrigue, doesn't it? Or a partial understanding.
Yeah, it sparks curiosity. Makes you want the full picture.
Which makes it powerful in storytelling, marketing, even just how we see fleeting moments in our own lives.
Like glimpsing an unusual bird makes you want to find out what it was.
Exactly.
Okay, our next word is glorious. This describes something magnificent, wonderful, deserving great admiration.
Something really positive and impressive.
Yes. Picture a team achieving a glorious victory in a final match.
Or watching a truly glorious sunset. All those colors.
Beautiful. Or a specific moment in history might be remembered as glorious for a whole country.
A high point.
And an amazing performance could be described as, nothing short of glorious.
Glorious carries that sense of triumph, or exceptional beauty, or deep satisfaction. Something that really stands out as positive and splendid.
Leaves a lasting impression of excellence.
Yes. What kinds of things do we call glorious? Usually big achievements, moments of great beauty. They share that quality of being remarkable.
And closely related is glory. This is the noun form. It refers to great honor, praise, or distinction achieved through significant accomplishments.
The recognition you get.
Right. Someone might return home in glory after winning a big tournament. Or soldiers might fight for the glory of their country as they see it.
Even nature can have glory, like sunrise bathing mountains in glory.
That's a lovely image. And of course, people can bask in the glory of their academic or professional success.
Glory often implies public recognition, lasting admiration for something remarkable. It's that enduring respect and acclaim.
Like historical figures remembered for their glory.
Yeah.
We remember what made their achievements so significant.
Precisely.
All right, let's move to governance. This is the process of overseeing the control and direction of something, especially a country or an organization.
How things are run, essentially.
Yeah, it's the framework, the rules, institutions, practices that dictate how an entity is managed. We talk about good governance, ensuring transparency and accountability.
Or a company board being responsible for corporate governance.
Exactly. And unfortunately, poor governance can lead to big problems like instability or corruption.
While international organizations often try to promote democratic governance.
Effective governance is just fundamental, isn't it? For stability, progress in any system, a country, a business.
It sets up the structures for decision-making, accountability, the rule of law.
And different models of governance clearly have very different impacts.
Absolutely, it's a crucial concept.
Next, we have grace. As a noun, this suggests elegance, beauty, and movement or manner. Think of a dancer moving with incredible grace.
Effortless elegance.
Yes, but grace can also be a verb, meaning to honor or add charm to something. Like saying someone's presence graced an event, making it more special.
Or handling a difficult situation with grace, like accepting defeat gracefully.
That's a good one. Inner composure as well as outward appearance.
Yes, grace covers both that outward beauty and an inner sort of dignity, a refined way of being in the world, even when things are tough.
You see it admired in art, but also just in how people conduct themselves.
Definitely.
Okay, let's think about grasp. As a verb, it can mean seizing or holding something firmly, like grasping a handrail.
Physically holding on.
Right, but it also means understanding a concept clearly. It might take time to grasp a complex theory.
So mental understanding too.
Yes, and as a noun, grasp is either that firm physical hold or it's the clear understanding. You can finally get a grasp on a concept.
Or someone has a solid grasp of politics, meaning they understand it well.
So it's both physical and intellectual command.
That dual nature of grasp, physical and mental, is interesting. It highlights how important both tangible control and cognitive understanding are. A strong grasp in either sense means competence, mastery, a secure hold.
And sometimes they connect, right? Like physically working with tools helps you grasp how they work.
Good point, yes.
Our next word, grave. Now, this can be an adjective meaning serious or solemn.
Weighty.
Yes. If a doctor has a grave expression, it usually means bad news. We talk about issues like climate change posing a grave threat.
Or someone's voice becoming grave when they discuss something serious.
A grave situation needs immediate, careful attention.
The adjective grave really emphasizes the seriousness, the potential danger of a situation. It signals a need for careful thought and often quick action.
Definitely changes how you perceive the seriousness of something when you hear that word.
It does.
But grave is also a noun, referring to a burial place. Usually a dugout space in the ground where a deceased person is laid to rest.
The physical side of burial.
People might put flowers on a loved one's grave to remember them. A name is often inscribed on a headstone marking the grave.
Visiting a grave can be part of grieving, finding closure.
And cemeteries are full of graves, some very old, holding historical significance. It's a symbol of mortality.
The noun grave is a very powerful, poignant symbol of that mortality and remembrance. A physical marker of loss, a place for reflection, mourning, honoring memory.
Different cultures obviously have different traditions around graves and burial.
Very much so.
Okay, moving on. We have gravity. This is, well, the fundamental force pulling objects together, keeps us grounded on Earth.
Physics 101.
Yeah. But gravity also has that figurative meaning, the seriousness or importance of a situation.
Like the gravity of a mistake.
Right. Someone might not realize the gravity of their actions until it's too late. Or a speaker's tone might convey the gravity of their message.
And of course, literally, space travel involves defying Earth's gravity.
The dual meaning of gravity, the force of nature, and the weight of a situation. That's a great example of science concepts used metaphorically.
It is. Both meanings involve a significant force or weight, physical or metaphorical.
Understanding the literal gravity maybe enhances how we get the figurative use for serious matters.
I think so.
Let's discuss grid. This can be a network of intersecting lines, horizontal and vertical, like a city laid out in a neat grid pattern.
Or the lines on graph paper or a spreadsheet.
Exactly. The cells of a spreadsheet form a grid. But grid can also mean a framework or system, like the electrical grid supplying power.
The power grid, crucial infrastructure.
You might enter data into a spreadsheet grid for analysis, or archaeologists might use a grid system to map a site systematically.
The idea of a grid embodies structure, organization, a systematic approach. Whether it's a physical layout or an abstract framework, it's a tool for understanding complexity, organizing information.
Managing space or concepts.
Right. Different kinds of grids help bring order and allow analysis in all sorts of fields.
Okay, next up is grief. This is deep sorrow, especially the kind caused by someone's death.
Intense emotional pain after a major loss.
Yes. Someone who might be overwhelmed with grief after a close family member passes. And it's important to remember grief is so personal, unfolds differently for everyone.
Very true. No single way to experience it.
Communities often come together to share their grief after a tragedy, and sometimes professional counseling is needed to cope with such intense sadness.
Grief is universal, a natural, powerful response to loss. Its intensity, duration, they vary hugely, but it shows the depth of our bonds and the pain of separation.
And different cultures, different people find various ways to express and process their grief.
Indeed.
Now we have grin. As a verb, it means to smile broadly. As a noun, it's that wide smile, usually showing teeth.
A big smile.
Often suggests happiness, amusement, sometimes maybe a bit of mischief. Someone might grin when they get good news.
Or have a mischievous grin when they're up to something playful.
But a grin can disappear quickly if bad news arrives. It's very expressive, often more informal than just a smile.
That expressiveness makes a grin a pretty clear sign of positive emotion. Though, like you said, the exact flavor, joy, mischief, triumph depends on the context.
It's more obvious than a subtle smile.
Definitely less ambiguous.
Let's consider grind, verb first. It can mean crushing something into particles, like grinding coffee beans.
Physical action.
But it also has that figurative meaning. Work that's tedious, repetitive, demanding, the daily grind.
Ugh, yes. You might hear gears grinding, which is unpleasant, or students talk about the grind of assignments.
Or someone described as grinding for years to build a business. That highlights the persistent, often exhausting effort.
The dual meaning of grind, crushing physically, and that metaphorical, relentless effort, it speaks to the hard work often needed to get something done, whether it's product or a personal goal.
Yeah, the grind. How people view it differs too, right?
Yeah.
Necessary evil for some, path to success for others.
Culturally, yeah, different perspectives on that.
Our next word is grip. Verb, hold tightly. Noun. A firm hold or grasp.
Like grasp, but maybe emphasizing the firmness.
Perhaps. Grip can mean physical control, like gripping a steering wheel tightly. Or it can refer to losing control in an abstract sense, someone's grip on a situation weakening.
Or physically losing your grip on something slippery and falling.
Right. And a captivating book or film might have you in its grip, meaning it holds your attention strongly, emotionally.
So grip signifies holding firmly, physically, but also that abstract idea of control, influence, or understanding.
A strong grip implies security, command. Losing your grip suggests vulnerability, lack of control.
And we tell people to get a grip, meaning control your emotions.
Good point. Okay, now we have gross. Adjective first. Disgusting or offensive.
Ew.
Yeah, like a gross smell from the bins. Or someone might say, that's gross, don't talk about insects while we're eating.
Definitely an expressive word for revulsion.
But gross is also a noun, meaning a total amount before deductions.
Like gross income versus net income.
Exactly, a company's gross revenue before costs, or your gross salary before taxes are taken out. So, two really distinct meanings.
Those two meanings, revulsion and total quantity, it's fascinating how one word can develop such different uses.
Shows why context is so important.
Absolutely crucial for interpretation. You wouldn't mix up those two uses in conversation.
No. Okay, let's discuss guerrilla. This noun describes a member of a small, independent group fighting irregularly against larger conventional forces.
Irregular warfare.
Yes. Guerrilla tactics often involve ambushes, sabotage, hit-and-run stuff, commonly used in resistance movements or rebellions.
You hear about guerrilla fighters using terrain like forests to their advantage.
And how guerrilla warfare can be really challenging for traditional armies to deal with.
There are films and books about guerrilla leaders, their campaigns.
Right. Guerrilla warfare is unconventional, often asymmetric, smaller forces using surprise, local knowledge against bigger opponents.
Usually comes up in resistance against an occupying power or an established regime, often needs local support to work.
There are ethical questions, too, and questions about its long-term effectiveness in different situations.
Always complex historical contexts there.
Our next word, guidance. This refers to advice or helpful information given to help solve a problem or navigate something tricky.
Offering direction, mentorship.
Yeah. You might seek guidance from a mentor or experienced colleague. We recognize the importance of parental guidance.
Teachers give guidance on assignments. Career guidance counselors help people choose professions.
Guidance is really important for growth, personal and professional. Gives support, direction to overcome challenges, make good decisions.
And good guidance is usually tailored to the person asking for it.
We rely on different sources of guidance all through life, don't we? Mentors, books, advisors.
We do.
Okay, now let's consider guilt. This is that feeling of remorse, regret for doing something wrong or harmful.
The emotional kickback from wrongdoing.
Yeah. It's the belief you've acted inappropriately or caused harm. Someone might feel intense guilt after lying or making a big mistake.
And guilt can sometimes motivate people to make amends, fix things.
You might see guilt in someone's eyes or body language. And sometimes people carry guilt for years without dealing with it.
Guilt is complex. It can be like an internal moral compass, prompting us to acknowledge mistakes and repair damage.
But too much guilt or unresolved guilt can be really damaging to well-being.
Definitely. There's a whole psychology around processing guilt, the role of forgiveness.
Yeah. Finally, let's look at gut. Now, this can be a noun, just meaning the stomach or abdomen, like a punch to the gut.
Physical.
But gut is also an adjective, meaning based on intuition or instinct, like having a gut feeling something's wrong.
Or making a gut reaction or gut decision.
Exactly. And as a verb, gut means to remove the internal organs, or figuratively, destroy the inside or core of something, like gutting a house for renovation.
So again, quite varied uses for one word.
The multiple meanings of gut, literal body part, source of instinct, action of removal, it reflects how central it is to our physical and intuitive experience.
Visceral and intuitive aspects of being human.
And how often do we rely on gut feelings when making decisions?
A lot.
Yeah.
Even when we don't have all the facts, it's a real phenomenon.
So we've just taken a pretty comprehensive look at a selection of C1 vocabulary words, starting with G.
Quite a tour.
We trust this exploration has not only clarified their meanings, but maybe deepened your appreciation for the richness and precision of English.
Hopefully spark some ideas.
Yeah, think about how you might integrate these terms into your own speaking and writing. What specific words from this list maybe stood out to you?
Or what other English vocabulary intrigues you?
This is just the beginning, really, of your ongoing journey to expand your language skills.
Keep exploring.
And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel for more of these in-depth language explorations.
Thanks for joining us.